That's the challenge, isn't it? And that's one of the things that, frankly, keeps me up at night, because we would have little or no notice if somebody decides to commit an act of violence. So if the family member, the religious leader, the teacher trusts us enough to inform us, we're in a position to make a difference.
Well, the Department of Homeland Security wants your help to combat the threat of a lone wolf terror attack. The agency has created a network of law enforcement officials at every level of government, with even Secretary Jeh Johnson himself reaching out to build trust in local communities. Peter Hegseth is the CEO of Concerned Veterans for America and a Fox News contributor. Pete, you just heard him. His biggest fear is that person just sitting there on the internet, no criminal record, they're not on a watch list, difficult to track. He says it's up to the public. Is that effective?
Well, it's part of it, right? I mean, it's up to the public, it's up to the families and the networks of people who our government needs to establish a relationship, especially in at-risk communities, which are clearly around the world and in America, is Muslim communities where we're targeting youth. In certain places. I'm here in Minneapolis, where there have been problems of our Muslim Somali community here, some going to fight with Al-Shabaab and ISIS. And it's not just that they get radicalized behind a computer. At some point, it ceases to be just the information from the internet, and it's the seeking of affirmation and collaboration and the ability to work with someone in order to fulfill that dream of going to Iraq or Syria. And that requires human-to-human interaction or conversation over the internet. That's where the authorities have to really be on their toes to maintain informant networks, surveillance where necessary. There's a particular mosque here in Bloomington near Minneapolis where there's been a lot of focus of radical teaching. You need to have your inroads into the pressure points and know where these folks are getting a lot of their information and trying to collaborate.
Yeah, because as you say, though, if they get actually close to acting, there should be red flags that are visible to others outside their immediate circle. But in the meantime, are there false alarms? Are you going on all these, chasing false leads a lot?
Boy, that is difficult. If you're trying to surveil just based on who's visiting what sites, I mean, I could have visited a number of sites preparing for this very segment, and
right.
if I'm raising flags, in the meantime, we're sending people on the wrong rabbit trails. That's where using resources in an efficient way is critically important. Also, sharing information. So, joint terrorism task forces. There are many of them across the country, and there's one here in Minneapolis where you've got the national level of the FBI collaborating with the local sheriff's office and municipalities, so that families with that sheriff, and there's a great example here of our sheriff here in Minneapolis, making outreach to Muslim communities so they feel comfortable coming forward to authorities. As a result, when you get that initial information from parents or friends, that's when you can head it off. Otherwise, the authorities are never going to know if a young teenager who's been radicalized is online trying to figure out how to get to Iraq or Syria. You've got to have that community relationship, community-based policing, and that's where national threats become very local, especially. But you can't just cast a wide net. You've got to be focused on where these young Muslims are then associating, so you can run interference.
Yeah, Secretary Johnson mentioned on 60 Minutes that the DHS actually has 78 so-called fusion centers around the country to improve this coordination between the different law enforcement groups. But we always do hear about these turf wars. How would you assess the coordination at this point? Are we all on the same page, or does the left hand not know what the right is doing? How's that going?
It's not perfect. It is certainly state by state, area by area. But again, in Minneapolis here, I can speak to the sheriff here in working very hard to work with members across communities here in Minneapolis, because they're even disparate there, and then vertically to the national level to make sure that that information is shared. It's going to be different in every place. A lot of it's based on personalities, but I think 9/11 and unfortunately the rise of ISIS have reawoken people to the reality that we can't have these turf wars anymore.
Yeah.
We've got to get the bureaucracy streamlined as much as possible, and information is gold. Information and intelligence are gold. Without it, without those data points, you can't be effective, and ultimately you can have all the digital surveillance you want. This is ultimately, Patty, a human exercise. This is about relationships and trust. And I learned that in Iraq in working with informants and others on the ground. If they don't trust you, if they don't feel like they can reach out to you, they're not going to inform when someone is radicalized or someone's taking an action. So those local communities have to have that trust and establish it and work to establish it in some of these communities. And then those communities have to call out those who are radicalizing their youth. That combination is how you get in front of this Islamic threat, so you don't have more of folks from Minneapolis heading to fight with Al-Shabaab or ISIS,
yeah,
or attacks here at home.
Yeah, the biggest fear of all, right? All right. Pete Hegseth, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks a lot.